Hello, everyone. How are you? How's everyone doing? All right. Sending a poll. I sent out a newsletter today. Just want to make sure everyone got it because I've had some issues with that I've been dealing with this morning. So I wanted to see. I sent out my newsletter this morning. I want to see for those of you that asked. Well, if you're on my list, you're going to get it. But I know that some people didn't. So I wanted to make sure. All right. Mona from Montana. That just rhymes. Hi, Mona. Wendy from Massachusetts. Wow. I love this. I love it. That's one of the most amazing things for me that's happened since 2020 is how small our world has become in a way that we could all be together. And especially because this is healthy aging, healthy bones, right? That's what we're all really focused on. So we all have a real specific focus here together in a safe, strong way. So really strong, healthy aging, strong bones safely, as strong and safe as possible. Lynn, good morning. Carolyn, good morning from Southern California. Yep, that's where we are. Stevie, you're here too. Hi. You got it, Lynn. Great. Cindy, good morning. It is a nice day. I watered today, which I think we're not going to be able to do much longer, right? Somebody was telling me we're not going to be able to water. I think in September. I don't water very often. And in 2015, I took out grass and put in, like succulents or low water plants. And it's one of my goals one day to live somewhere where water is not an issue. I cannot tell you how much I crave not being in a place where water is an issue. So anyway, all right, tempeh. All right, Susan. Wow. How amazing is this, right? So amazing. All right. So let me see. How many people did my poll? I just see, where's my poll? I see one there, I think. Oh no, 2 votes. Okay, perfect. All right. So I am putting together I'm a health coach and a yoga therapist, and I teach yoga, and I'm always going to do that, and always do my yoga therapy. And then in addition to that, I'm a certified health coach, and I run functional labs to look at the metabolism and the biochemistry of bones. And when you can look deeper at your digestion, your hormones, your minerals, especially your gut, when you look at your gut and to see if you're digesting, absorbing, and assimilating the foods you eat to build bones. So I put together a program, a group program. I also have privates that I'll do too, but I put together a group program that's a lower price value and a certain duration that we'll be together. So that's in my newsletter. If you didn't see that, go to debbierobinson.com. On the homepage, you can sign up for the newsletter or email me and you can contact me there. Love to have you join me. And okay, you got it. Good. All right. So, all right. Anything in particular today, ladies? I do have some thoughts for today's practice. And if there's anything in particular that any of you would like to ask about, I'd like to see that and hear that. If not, I'm really into strength these days, but manageable strength. And for those of you that practice with me on Tuesday, I teach through a hospital in Southern California. And those are classes you have to sign up through a hospital, and they're 8-week sessions. But on Tuesday, I worked on strength with a chair. And I'd love to hear from those of you that were with me. Are you sore? Because my quadriceps were sore. I think I was really going deep. And, because I teach and I see myself, I actually see the angles in my body. And we actually were really deep in a chair and then loading up from that. And I did lift off the chair, which is partly why I think my deep quadriceps were a little sore, which is fantastic because bigger leg muscles mean bigger, stronger bones. And healthy aging is correlated to leg strength. So today's practice is going to also focus on strength in the spine and the back and the core. So today, posture, alignment, fall prevention, and balance will be a big focus of what we do and why we're doing that. So that's what I'd like to focus on. And then, okay, so if there's nothing in particular, then that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go back here so I could explain a little. So today's practice will focus on strength in the body, of course, all over, because we'll do some postures that strengthen everywhere, but we're really going to focus on strengthening the trunk. So that'll be the core and the spine. And when we do that, when we strengthen our stability, our stabilizing aspects, our trunk, and when we refine our posture, when we stretch the front of the body and strengthen the back of the body, what we're doing is we are improving posture, improving joint alignment, and joint alignment will help to keep the minerals in your bones. Because when you're out of alignment, your body needs to lay down more bone tissue. And so in that building bone process, it'll come out of the bones that are there and build more bone tissue to lay down the bone wherever it has moved to, wherever they moved to, even slight variations off center. And so alignment, very important, posture, and then that all translates to better balance. Better balance means less fall risk. Less fall risk means less fracture risk. So all the things that are really important if you have osteoporosis and if you are aging and you want to maintain the health and the integrity of your structure. So to begin the practice, we're going to begin with a chest opener. And I brought some props out to show you. I'd like you to get some other things today to go a little deeper if that's available to you. Really focusing on stretching this part of your body and this part of the body, because we get really tight in the front of our body from our lifestyle. We get really tightened in our core and tightened in our chest muscles when we are cooking, reading, gardening, whatever we're doing. So we want to bring some spaciousness and open up this part of our body. So the very simple way of doing that would be to have you could have 2 blankets, and you could put one blanket behind your chest rolled up. This would go behind the heart, and then the other one would go behind the head. If you had 2 blocks, square or rectangle blocks, you could do 2 blocks, and you would put one down for your spine. It would go like about right here in your spine, and then the other one would just support the head. So that's another option. Or this one could go across here, so it goes across the shoulder blades. It could go vertical on the edge, more spinal, little, I want to say deeper stretch, yet it stretches more one place, whereas this one stretches more in a different place. So if you put the block here and then another one behind your head. So those are options for 2 blocks or 2 blankets. If you have an egg block, people that work with me usually purchase these, or in some of my programs, they're a part of my programs. I love this. It goes behind your spine here, and then you put a block behind your head. And wrap for today's practice. You're going to need a blanket for today's practice. And then decide how you're going to begin the practice today. I'm going to begin with the egg block and with the block here. So you choose what is the most appropriate for you, and then we will begin. So bringing yourself onto your block, you want to make sure that you're being safe when you do this. If you do have an egg, you want to make sure that the front of your spine stays nice and open as you lower down onto it. And if there's something else you're going to do, go ahead and do that. Do whatever it is that's appropriate for you. And open your eyes when you're doing this, because I'd like you to open your eyes and feel real safe, especially if you're bringing in a real big chest opener. This is a supported extension position, and the nervous system can be on high alert when you're doing something pretty intense. So have your eyes open so your nervous system realizes that everything else is safe around you and that you're conveying safety. And then close your eyes. Let your arms go out to the side. And close your eyes and explore where you're going to end up in the supported spinal extension posture to begin the practice. Close your eyes, quiet your mind, slow down your breath, breathe in and out through your nose.
Bring your body into a place where you feel a deep and appropriate stretch. On the inhale, bring in the word relaxation. And bring that word in for a couple of breaths, letting it go to the places that you feel the most tension in your body. So if you feel tension in your shoulders, your arms, your chest, wherever you feel the tension, bring in the word relaxation and let it go to where you feel that tension. Let it soften, let it stretch, let it relax. Breathing in and out through the nose, closing the mouth, bringing in the word relaxation, letting it go to the places you feel it needs to go to. We're going to add on to this. We're going to add on the word tension for the exhalation. So you're going to inhale relaxation. On the exhale, exhale and release the word tension. And see if you could take that to the places you feel the tension. Bringing in the relaxation, letting it soften and dislodge and release the tension. And then let it leave your body when you exhale. Let the props help facilitate the opening in the front of the body, stretching, creating more space in your spine, more space in your shoulders, more freedom in your belly. Finish the breath you're on. Take a few more breaths. Let's add a little movement, adding a little bit more weight for your shoulder joint to balance. We're going to begin to move our arms like we're making snow angels. Go into whatever range of motion is appropriate for your shoulders. On the exhale, you bring the elbows down towards your waist. And on the inhale, palms are up towards the sky. You bring the arms up and overhead. Exhale, bring the elbows down to the waist. And as you inhale, you bring your arms up and overhead. Let your neck be long, your head be heavy, your body be heavy, and start to move the arms, hovering them off the ground, letting gravity help to stretch shoulders, chest, arms. And as you lift up, you're stretching your torso, your belly, your ribs. Correcting your posture, improving your posture is a major facet of a healthy bones lifestyle. One more after you finish the one you're on. If you're able to come into a fully stretched position, lengthening your legs, lengthening your arms overhead with support behind your chest in this lengthened, supported spinal extension position, find that in your body. See what feels appropriate to you. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself out. Bend your knees if they're straight. Bring your hands onto your belly. Let your chest and your shoulders relax. If you're able to do a little side to side with your head, depending on what you're on, depending on what the support is for you. If it's a narrow edge to a block, maybe try to bring it down onto the more flat side. If you're on a blanket, that'll be okay. Close your eyes. Go slow so you can notice the nooks and crannies, the areas that you need to slow down and be gentle. Feel that stretch in the upper back and neck. Releasing some of that tension out of your body in the upper back, neck area. Finishing your last side. Come back to center. You're going to slowly move on to your side, letting that come out of your body. Then from here, you're going to take your hand, you're going to push your hand, push away strongly from the ground to bring yourself up. Highly recommend the egg block. I think it's a fantastic block for bringing in that deep spinal extension. Bring your blanket onto your mat. Bring it all the way onto the center of your mat. And come onto all fours, letting your body settle here. Do whatever you need to do with your hands. If you could let your pointer fingers face forward, do that. And I want you to hold your head up here. So don't let your head flop. Try to let your body be in a neutral position. You can move back and forth side to side. And then start to bring your awareness to your hips, the side hips. Push your hips to the side the most. Stretching some of the pelvic support and some of the muscles that are attached to the outer leg bone, which makes up the hip joint. The more we pull on bones, the more we create bone building stimulation. The more we're asking from them, the more they will get stronger when you ask for more. Bring yourself forward or back to a neutral, coming forward and back, rolling around in your hips and shoulders, exploring. Keep your head lifted. And then lift your head a little bit more to look forward about 4 feet in front of you. This is going to activate the erector muscle group in the back of the neck and the upper back. It may start to feel a little uncomfortable. Be there as long as you can, strengthening your upper back and neck. And then bring yourself back to a neutral. Walk your knees to the back edge of your mat. Take your arms forward and wide. We're going to bend the hip joint here. You're not going to bend your spine. You want to keep the front of your spine nice and open. Bending the hips slowly, bringing the low belly closer to the top thighs. You may feel a stretch in the center of your buttocks, your glute muscles, and some of the top of the hamstrings as well. If you're able to bring your head to the floor, bring your head to the floor, or you may want to get a block and bring a block there to rest your forehead. Stretching your spine. Push the heart forward so you keep the front of your spine open and you're stretching the back of your body. Lengthening your spine. Try to be as long as you can in all 26 vertebrae. If you could put your head on the ground, let it be the forehead that touches. Press your palms into the ground. Press your hands into the ground. Press your head into the ground. Press your armpits towards the ground. Push your rib cage towards the ground. Keep the front spine nice and lengthened. Take one more breath. Walk your hands over to the left. Walk them over to the left. Walk the right hand away a little bit more. Rest your head on the right hand or the right arm. Push your hips to the right and feel that deep stretch along the right side of your body. Your arms are straight. So let your arms be straight. Try not to bend the arms. Let your head rest on your arm. Push your body to the side. Stretch that deep lateral chain connective tissue on the side of your body. See if you could feel that at the pelvic level. Heart is open. Deep rest down to your belly. Take one more breath. With the awareness on the front of your spine, lifting your head, coming back to center, and then over to the side. Maybe you feel heat in your upper back. I feel the tension and the work in my upper back from holding my head up. So none of us are immune from the workload that takes place when you try to hold your head up against gravity. Hands are to the right. Let your head rest on your left arm, and then push your hips to the left. Try to get your belly to come close to the top thighs. Front spine is open. Push the heart to the ground. Breathe to your left side. Breathe to your belly. Take one more breath. Lift your head, walk your hands back to neutral. Bring yourself down onto the ground for a breath or two. And then lead with the head. Front spine is open. Bring yourself up. Bring yourself all the way out. Noticing what you notice of that deep stretching that just took place, the armpits, the chest, and the whole lateral chain. Now that was actually a forward fold, and what you'll read about osteoporosis is you're not allowed to forward fold. And that is true, but you're actually not supposed to forward fold in your spine. You can and should forward fold in your hips. And that's where the misnomer is and the misinformation. What we just did is we flexed our hips deeply, we lengthened our spine, lengthened our upper body. And I think that messaging around no forward folding is what
contributes to so much of the tightness in the upper body. So that was a safe way to forward fold and to stretch and to bring in a lot of therapeutic value to the upper body for posture, for joint alignment, for keeping minerals in your spine, for spinal health, whether that's in the mineral sense or in the musculoskeletal sense. So let's continue with this. Some more therapeutic aspects of spinal and upper body health as it relates to your bone health and osteoporosis. Bring a hand onto the back of the head. Your other hand is directly underneath your shoulders. And then you're going to exhale and inhale to open. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Look forward of your hand so that you're not rounding that upper spine at all. Take one more. And then bring yourself down, strengthening your wrist, rotating your spine. All amazing stuff here. Do what you can. Bring your other hand behind your head. Exhale. Inhale to rotate. Exhale. Feel all that work in your trunk. Stretching core muscles, low back muscles. Let your elbow lift a lot so that the shoulder blade goes onto your spine to help protect you as you rotate. One more. Bring yourself down. Keep your head lifted as you bring yourself up. Another thing you may read is not to rotate with your spine. Yes, do not rotate if you are flexed. If you are crunched up and then you're trying to rotate your trunk, that's not safe because you're going to roll over the front of the vertebra that are already so precarious. Rotating in a neutral spine, in the thoracic spine, and especially when you have the shoulder blade there to help protect you from flexing in the thoracic, is not only okay, it's superior way to strengthen your spine. So to create bone building stimulation with a safe rotational force, knowing your body, of course. We just weight bared on our wrists, so you may have felt some stuff in the wrist. Let's stretch the wrists. Now this is a little intense to do it like this, to do it with weight bearing. I'm on the back of my hands. The back of the hands are on the ground and my palms are facing up towards me. So try that. I know not all of you will be able to do that. Try it if you can, and then flip your hands so that you put your palms down onto the ground. Fingers are facing you. The eye of the elbow is facing away from you. And lift your head here. Lift it more than neutral. So working on strengthening the upper back and neck in everyday movements, raising your body awareness to stay safe in your body forever. That's our goal. Push away from the ground. Look up. Let your body weight go back if you can. If you have that ability to deeply stretch in your forearm like that, take one more breath. And then come up. Take your fingers, bend your fingers, really stretch. Look at your hands. You see white and red, really pressing stuff back into your system. Things that are hanging out, stuff that's hanging out in the capillary beds and the tissues goes back into the system with movement and massage. Also moves the lymphatic fluids. Thumb, move your thumb down. And then your fingers. It's important to keep your joints limber and mobile and dancing forever because any fracture can really sideline you in a lot of ways. Of course, some are much more serious than others, and we want to avoid all of them. Pull your thumb down to your appropriate place so that you're stretching your joints, moving arthritis, I think on a biochemical level, helping your bone density by putting the minerals back into the system to be absorbed by the bones and not bringing them to the joints for arthritis. So there is research on that as well, and there will be more in the future. We will find out more about that, I know. Move your hands so that you're moving all your joints. And then we're going to do a posture that's not really a yoga posture, but it is something that Dr. Fishman teaches for strength in your wrists. Sit on a block if you can, or sit in a crisscross leg position if that's better for you. So sit in whatever way you need to bring yourself into a position that you could bring your shoulders forward, up, back, and down. Bring your arms up. Take your left arm, shoulders are forward, up, back, and down. Bring your hands forward and flip them so that the back of the hands face each other. The thumbs are down towards the ground. Bring the left wrist over the right wrist, clasp your hands, and then lower your shoulders, draw your hands towards you, and start to rotate as you bring your hands up and through. We're going to hold this for 30 seconds. This is considered a posture. Elbows separate, arms lower. Move into a place where you feel a pretty deep stretch in your wrists. Lift your heart. Keep the front of your spine lifted. And then go ahead and slowly release. Feeling the tension, the left arm was on top, so a lot of tension in that left wrist. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and down. Bring your hands up. Flip the palms away from each other. Thumbs are down, backs of the hands are towards each other. Right hand over left. Clasp your hands. Lower your shoulders. Hands come through. They come up. And then when you're in this, you move into a place where you feel the most tension that you can handle. Elbows can separate, hands can lower. Those are all things that'll help. Deep breaths. And then go ahead and come out. Shake your wrists. Shake. Some of what we do is for prevention. And that is a good thing. A lot of what we're doing is prevention, right? But some of these things where we're bringing awareness to areas that are really important, and in this case, the wrists. So I'd like to warm up the spine in a seated position. This will also warm up the low back and the hips. You're going to take your blanket and fold your blanket in 2 or even more, depending on how tight your hips are. So for those of you that have tighter hips, you may need to be a little bit more elevated. If you could sit like this, great. And if your knees are not happy like this, you could come into Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. So choose something that is appropriate for your body, and then come to the front edge of the blanket, reach down and grab some flesh, a hunk of flesh, so you really expose your pelvis. It'll help to support you in the seated position. So come here and see how you're feeling here. Knees elevated is going to put a little bit more tension on the low back, so pay attention to that. And then bring your hands onto your bring your hands onto your knees. And let's begin doing a little bit of a circular movement in one direction. Keep your head lifted, keep the front of the spine open. Start to explore rolling around the base of your pelvis. And you may feel that you're stretching your hips, your low back, noticing what you notice. Start to get a little bit bigger with your circles. Keep your head lifted. So don't let your head collapse, because where the head goes, the spine follows. And we want to make sure we don't collapse in the front of our spine, because that leads to spinal wedge fractures. Inhale when you come forward. Exhale when you go back. Let the hip joint be where the movement takes place. Keep your spine in its neutral curves. Heart is open. Notice if you're going clockwise or counterclockwise. Bring yourself back to center. Get nice and tall in your body. Exhale. Inhale forward and begin small circles. Small circles. If you'd like to close your eyes and feel how your body weight goes around the perimeter of your pelvis, you could do that. And then start to go a little bit bigger with the circles. See if you could feel the hip joint stretching, some low back, core. Going a little bit bigger and matching your breath with the movement. You inhale when you're forward, you exhale back. And then take one more breath. One more circle. Bringing yourself back to center. If you need a break for your knees, you could take your feet forward, shake your legs out. Why don't we all do that actually? Bring your legs forward. When we bend our joints, we stop the flow. And then when we unbend our joints, we allow for a release to come in. Bring yourself back into your crisscross position. Let's explore the 6 movements of the spine. Bring your props off to the side if they're in the way. Let's do the lateral movement first, the side bending. It feels really delicious. One thing I want you to be careful of is that you do not collapse. So we're going to bring ourselves up and over so that the arm stays alongside your body. And what I notice is people try to come up so high that they end up compromising the upper spine by bringing the arm forward and then having to look down with their head with a lot of roundness here. We don't want that. We want to side bend our body with our throat open, our head lifted and on top of our spine. You could start letting your hands go a little bit farther away from you. Let the elbow bend of the hand that's going down onto the ground, or not. And then try to look forward, and I'd like it so that you don't even see your arms when they're going up. So even if you only go to here, so that you don't see your arms. And then let's all do this lower range of motion. As you come, I want you to open up your palm and your thumb to the back. This is going to open up that shoulder joint, put the shoulder blade on the back, and help be a little safe, keep you safe and protected in the upper body. You may feel a different stretch somewhere. You probably won't be able to go as high when your arm is so far back and your thumb is moving towards the back. And then bring yourself back to center. Notice where the tension develops as we do that. We're going to come into rotation, the rotation of the spine. Let's start in the neck. Most movement happens here in your neck. The vertebrae there have a lot of joints for movement. It's to keep you safe in the nervous system, right? You have to look around and make sure the coast is clear. So keep your elbows underneath your shoulders. Chin is parallel towards the ground. The only thing moving is your head. Exhale. Inhale to look over one shoulder or towards one shoulder. Exhale back to center. Inhale. Exhale. Feel the stretch. Bring yourself back to center. We're going to go a little deeper now. We're going to take the elbow, and as you inhale, let your elbow go and let your head go. Let your elbow be pretty far behind you. Inhale to look, and let the other hand hold on to your leg to keep you lengthened in your spine, especially the front spine. Noticing what you notice here. You are stretching low back muscles, so you're pulling on the top of the back of the pelvis. Your shoulder blades are going onto the spine to help protect you. Your heart is open. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's take the legs straight. And then bend your legs again. The next thing we're going to do is extension and flexion. We're only going to flex the low back. So the flexion position is when the whole back goes into a forward fold, a rounding. And we don't want to do this with osteoporosis, putting pressure on the front. But it is nice to give the low back release and to bring flexion into the low back. So bring your awareness to your pelvis. Let me see. Yeah, it might be a little easier to do this. Open up your legs. So bring your legs so your feet are on the ground. And then keep your hands on your legs so you can be nice and lifted in your chest. Bring your awareness down to your tailbone, to the base of your pelvis, and start to let your pelvis rock back and forth. If you see my low back here, you can see that there's an extension and then the low back. So the middle back, the rib cage area is not moving very much here. I want you to feel it's a very small movement. Feel that in the low back, there's a stretch. The tailbone is pushing into the ground. The low back curve is flattening out. You're stretching the muscles of the low back, the spine, and the muscles of the back itself. And then bring yourself to neutral. Bring your legs back into the crisscross position. We're going to come into extension, which is a back bend, sliding the elbows back, bending your spine, opening your throat. And then we're only going to come into flexion in the low back. Extension in the whole spine, flexion in low back. Inhale into extension, exhale into flexion. Inhale, exhale. Feel your shoulder blades pushing towards each other and feel the stretch in your body. One more. Come forward into your extension. Elbows are back. Slide the shoulder blades towards each other like you're pinching a pencil, holding a pencil between your shoulder blades. Press your heart up. Really stretch the upper back. And then go ahead and release. So now that we have the upper body nice and warm, let's do some strengthening to the upper body and challenge the spine, challenge some of the muscles of the upper body. So the first posture we're going to do is the staff posture. So bring your folded blanket to the top of the mat. Have your strap and your block near you, and then bring yourself up onto the edge of your blanket, very front edge, and reach back with the flesh of your body. Take your strap and put your strap on your feet. You could lasso it because I don't want you to come too close and around your spine here. So you could lasso and find your feet. We're going to do staff posture for 30 seconds. We're going to use the strap here to help us. So put the strap on your feet. Your feet are body distance. You have about 4 inches between your feet. And actually, why don't you take the block and put the block between your feet. So the block is between your feet. You're holding onto your strap. You wrap your hands around your strap. You want to bring your elbows underneath your shoulders so that you're keeping your body nice and safe. And this is a 30-second hold. Squeeze the block, push the legs down into the ground, pull the strap back, lift your body tall. This is staff, a posture for posture. Back neck is nice and long. You're going to feel your quads burning, your hip flexors burning. That's part of what helps to maintain posture and alignment. Take one more breath. And then slowly bring yourself out. Take your strap off to the side. Let's take the block behind you on one side and bend your leg. Bring your hands onto your leg and get nice and tall in your spine. We're going to come into a rotational force here. Take your hand on your leg and keep that shoulder open. So don't let that shoulder collapse. You want to lift that elbow up. You know when they're dancing and they talk about that carriage, like that, I don't know, all those waltzes where you have to have your arms like this as opposed to collapsed. So really keep yourself nice and lifted in your chest when you do this. Holding on with your hand to your leg, like it's a partner in a waltz. And then take your hand on the block behind you. Push down to get tall. So you want to be pushing down to get tall, straighten that leg. Take an exhale, and then inhale your lower ribs, your middle ribs, and your upper ribs. Rotate to the side. When you get here, constantly refining it. Push your foot into the ground, push your leg into the ground, push your hand into the block and get tall. Lower your shoulders, slide the shoulder blades towards each other. Push the tips of the shoulder blades into your rib cage to lift your heart, stretch the front of your body. Create all that tension the whole time you're in the practice, the whole time in this posture. Take one more breath. And then you slowly let the tension come out of your body as you unwind, coming to the other side. Straighten that leg, block over to the side. You bend the leg, you hold on to get nice and tall. So this is where you get the correction. You may be a little slouched when you come, you hold on to get tall, and you come into that position like you're dancing with the leg, doing a waltz. So you're very active. Put your hand down on the block. Exhale, push away, and then inhale, lower ribs, middle ribs, and upper ribs. Once you get into the deepest variation for you, push your foot into the floor, push your leg into the floor. That'll help support the low back. Lower your shoulders, slide your shoulder blades towards each other, press your shoulder blades towards your heart. Deep breaths down to your belly. Push down to lift up. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way out. Take your legs really wide here for a break. Well, this is a break for many. Not sure, depending on what your level of flexibility is. For some, this is pretty intense. Have your block in front of you so you can push down on your block and make sure you keep your spine lifted. Push down and lift. Very active legs pushing into the ground. Take one more breath. Bring yourself out. We're going to come into a deeper variation of the seated twist. If your knees don't like to bend, you could come into this variation where you have a leg across and you come into your twist. If your legs are okay bending, then you're going to bring one buttock onto the blanket and bend the foot so the foot comes underneath your other buttock. So you have one tushy cheek on the heel and one tushy cheek on the blanket. Then you bring your leg across. So it's a pretzel. You're getting a little deeper here. We're putting more force on posterior hip. So you're getting some more pulling on this hip here, and you're doing rotational force in the spine. So it's a deeper twisting posture. Do what's appropriate for you. Block is behind you. Take a hold of that leg like you're dancing with it, real active. Don't let it hang down. Be very, very active. Push away from the ground. Exhale, and then inhale, lower ribs, middle ribs, and upper ribs. Feel that tension on the leg that you're rotating over. Feel the hip joint. And push that side, the direction you're going, push that buttock into your heel. And then breathe and smile. Lower your shoulders, slide your shoulder blades towards each other, press and lift your heart forward. Like you're presenting your heart. Take one more breath. Keeping awareness on your spine, not to collapse as you unwind. Coming to the other side. Move the blanket over so that you have one buttock on the blanket. That leg bends and goes underneath your buttock. And then the other leg goes across your body. Hand is on the block behind you. Take a nice firm hold of that leg. Push your legs into the ground. Exhale. And then inhale. Lower ribs, middle ribs, and upper ribs rotate. Once you come into the posture, lower your shoulders. Slide the shoulder blades towards each other. And lift your heart. Refine the posture when you're in it. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way out. Bring yourself to sit on the blanket. If the straight leg position gives you some relief, you could do that. Otherwise, you could let your legs be straight. I find that with the straight legs, there's a tendency to maybe go into some kind of slouch. So that's why the straight legs can let you have that forward or bring that flexion into the hip joint so that you can feel a little free in your spine and in your posture. And then bring yourself into Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet are together. If you do want to deepen the stretch by coming forward, it happens at your hip and not in your spine. So coming forward is not spine bending. Forward is hip bending. It's going to be limited, a little bit more limited in your range of motion, but that's safe for all of us, whether you have osteoporosis or not, but especially if you have osteoporosis. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Go ahead and grab your strap. Grab your strap, and if you have the ability to put a loop in your strap, put a loop in your strap that is shoulder distance, so not wider than your body. So put a loop into your strap. If you don't have a loop, you could hold on to a strap that's shoulder distance. So any of these pushing into that strap or holding on is going to activate the shoulder girdle, the upper support. So get that, have your block handy, have your strap handy. And then let's come on to our blanket. So bring your blanket onto your mat. So we're going to come into the camel posture. We're going to use the block between our thighs to activate the support of the midline. And then we're going to use our hands in our strap to help activate the upper body as we come into a back bend. So camel posture. You let the belly be soft. We come in, this is camel posture, a variation of camel. So whatever is appropriate for you. If the low back is not happy with that, you could take your hands here. Either the palms are down or the wrists are pressing into the top of the pelvis, trying to get a little bit more of this action in your pelvis as opposed to a really deep back bend here. Think about softening the belly so the front of your spine can stretch in this posture. And the back of the vertebrae are pressing into each other to create bone building stimulation. Sounds good, right? Take your hands. So you could put your wrists on the strap if you have wrist issues, or put your hands on, and that'll help to strengthen the wrists as well. So let's activate our shoulder girdle by pushing out the strap, squeeze the block, and then let the tailbone move down towards the ground, soften your belly, and let's enter camel. Pushing out of your hands, lifting your hands back and away. Shoulder blades are sliding towards each other, and shoulder blades are pressing forward, lifting your upper spine. Stretch the front of your spine. Deep breath. Hands are reaching down and up. Take one more breath. Slowly release the tension, bring yourself out of that. Stay up here if you need to because your knees don't like to bend, or come down here if your knees are okay bending. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and they're down. Forward, up, back, and down. And then bring your hands to the side, bring your hands on top of your shoulders, bring your elbows up and down. Bring your elbows towards each other, up, open your throat, stretch your body. Let your chin come down towards your chest. Let your head lift up with your hands. And then bring yourself back to neutral. Let's move on to our next posture, plank, total body strengthener. You're going to bring your hands onto the mat. You decide if you want to be in a wider stance or you want to be directly underneath your shoulders. Modify accordingly. Take one foot back and then the other, or come into a modification if that's what you need. Pushing your feet into the floor, pushing your heels back, and pushing your hands away from the ground. Feel this strength in your body. If you want to try to come into a three-legged plank, you could lift one leg up, strengthening the hip of that leg that's on the ground. Switch. Put your leg down. And then bring yourself all the way down. That was a minute for the plank. Move your wrists. So we're going to come up to the standing postures. Have your block handy and your strap. I'd like to come up through down dog because I want to teach you about that hip flexion and how important it is to keep the spine safe and what is okay to do during the day. Because all day long, we need to bend. We need to garden, to cook, to get dressed, to go to the toilet. So we need to really have this hip flexion thing wired and really understand it. So with the down dog, or a variation of that, it is the hip joint that's bending. It's not my spine. You'll see that my spine is straight. My spine is not rounded. I'm bending at my hip, and I have to bend my knees a lot if I was tight, or the days I'm tight, or if you're tight, you have to bend your knees a lot. Okay, so let's try that. And if you know that this is not for you, then that's okay. This is also going to tremendously strengthen the upper body and the upper back posture and alignment. So if you need to bring yourself up, go ahead and do that. For the rest of you that are able to, take your hands on the floor pretty wide. Take your knees wide and your feet wide, and then flip your toes under. Take an inhale, and then begin by pushing your body back, bringing your belly button closer to your thighs, and then push your feet into the floor. Lift your knees up. When you get here, let's stretch the calves by pushing the foot one at a time towards the ground. Keep your head lifted and active, so your head is not flopping. And then try to push the outer pinky toe edge of the heels towards the ground. And then come with both of them pressing towards the ground. Try to bring the belly closer to the thighs, bending the knees if you need.
And then begin to walk your hands back. Walk your hands back. Keep your head lifted. Let your belly rest on the top thighs. Take your feet pretty wide here. Your head is lifted. Your front spine is long and open. It's not collapsing. Bring one hand at a time onto your thighs. Be in your heels. Make sure the weight is in the heels. Keep your head active. Front of the spine is open. Exhale. Inhale slowly. Unbending your hips, unbending your knees, keeping your head up. Go slow. And bring yourself all the way up. So we have wrinkles on the inside. We see them on the outside. We know they're there. But we also have them on the inside. And your internal body gets wrinkled just like the external. The collagen and all the factors that maintain the elasticity and the firmness, that happens inside, and that happens in our blood vessels. So when we rise, as we age, so let's say if you're out of your 50s, out of your 40s, because I'm going to say even going into menopause or going into your 50s, you really start to feel things. Probably even in the 40s is when you start to notice things, right? The eyes maybe start going, you start to notice that there's a shifting and a little bit of age coming in. For me anyway, that's how it was. So as we get older, we need to be more cautious and conscious. And so the blood vessels, you have to take your time when you come up so that you let your body and your blood pressure calibrate, because that's for fall prevention. One of the ways of falling is if you rise too quickly. All right, so let's take the props. We're going to take our blanket off to the side for now. Being near a chair or a wall, if that's something you need. I love using props. I love using props because it gives more access and it actually activates more muscles and it can really keep us safe. So take your block and bring your block between your legs. Could be between the knee joint if you'd like. We're going to come into chair posture. And chair posture is a really nice deep hip flexion. We're going to use the strap, putting the strap on your hands like this, and try this where you push out and you feel the muscles activate. Or if you don't have a loop, pulling out, pull, and you'll feel that as well. Block is between your legs if you have one. What I want you to be careful of is that you don't bend forward. You don't bend your knees. See how my hips are not moving at all. My hips are straight. There's zero bend right here. Knees, hips. Most people bend with their knees. I see it all the time. And hopefully you're gonna learn this piece and be able to use it from now on. Toes are forward, squeezing the block. Push out on the strap, feel the activation of your upper body. Push your tailbone down towards the ground. Inhale, exhale. And as you inhale, bring your lower belly closer to your top thighs. Pushing out on the strap, low belly towards the top thighs. And then reach your arms up if you can, as high as you can. Pushing out on the strap. Push your knees back. You could lift your toes off the floor if you'd like to make sure you really are in the back of your body. Strong legs equals healthy aging. Strong legs equals stronger femur bone, stronger hips, less likely to fracture. Take 3 more breaths if you can. And then bring yourself out. That was a minute. It's a pretty tough posture. Take your strap off to the side. We're going to do triangle pose, so if you need a chair, go ahead and grab a chair. A block will do for some of you. Triangle posture does a lot of compressive force in the hip joint,
And it also has a rotational force for the spine. So we're going to use our hand on the block or on the chair, arm in the air, and try to really bring in that rotational force into the upper body in the posture today. Take your legs wide, whatever side you're going to, the chair would be there or the block. Bring your toes up, toes are to the side, and then your heels back. When you come into this, constantly trying to move your knees away from each other, up and out, strong forces, rolling towards the pinky toe edges of your feet, grabbing the floor with your feet. Let's begin. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and they're down. Reach down with your hands, exhale. And as you inhale, start to lift your arms, lift your heart, reach, stretch your armpit, and then bring yourself down, bending at the hip joint. Bring your block either in front or in back. Arm is in the air. Push your feet into the floor. Be on those pinky toe edges. Active feet. Knees are moving out to the side and rotating your heart forward. Push away from the block or push away from the chair, whatever you're on. Push away to get tall and to rotate. Smile. Take one more breath. Bring the block with you if you have it. Bring yourself all the way up. Bring your toes forward. Bend at your hip. Keep your front spine open to put your block on the other side if you have a block. If you have a chair, move the chair. And then bring yourself back into this wide stance, preparing your legs. You swivel on the heel, keeping the legs straight, toes are away, heel is away. Push your feet down into the ground. It's a strong posture, creating lots of strength in your pelvis, your leg muscles. So stay in it as long as you can. Work as hard as you can when you're in it. Forward with the shoulders, up, back, and down. Exhale. Inhale. Reaching with your arm, let the armpit stretch, bend that front hip. Feel that leg muscles stretch when you do that. And then bring yourself down onto the block, arm in the air. Keep bending the hip joint even more, lengthening your spine, rotating your spine. A triangle is the strongest shape in nature. Feel the strength of this triangle. Push your feet down. Draw that energy to your pelvis. Lengthen your spine. Rotate your trunk. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way up. Bring yourself back to center. Mountain posture, Tadasana, to find that alignment in your body. Toes are forward. Let your big toes touch for a little extra, a little wider if you need that for balance. Reach down with your hands, reach down with your feet. Lengthen your spine and find your mountain. Close your eyes if that's okay for you. Feel your body, feel what you've done in today's practice. Notice the level of appropriateness of the work that you did for your body today, for your bones, for your muscles, your joints, your confidence, your future, for you. Take one more breath. Let everything shake. Shake your legs, shake your hands. We're going to bring ourselves down onto the floor to allow the integration of everything that was done.
to let the bone building stimulation that was created to find the areas it needs to stimulate. To relax your mind so that your body won't be worried thinking about trying to keep you safe. It can switch to healing and repairing and build the bones with the stimulation you just created.
Gently begin to deepen your breath. Breathing all the way down to your toes. Start to wiggle your toes, your fingers. Move your ankles, your wrists, bending your knees. Knees into the chest, rocking side to side. Onto your side.
Then push away from the ground. Sit nice and tall. Keep your eyes closed if you can. You're still in the practice. We're going to close the practice with sound, the humming sound. This is a practice of you to you. This is a self-care act of preservation of your body, your bones, and your mind. We're going to close that with sound. Bringing your hands together. Press your hands to your heart to your hands. Feel that activation in the upper back. You're still working on keeping yourself nice and erect. Keeping the mouth closed, making a beautiful humming sound. Take a big exhale. Inhale. In gratitude, thank you, and namaste. So hopefully in today's practice, you learned a lot about the spine. I cannot say enough about this. I say it over and over because it's not a piece of awareness that we were raised with. It's not something that is taught. It's not something we know about. And then we end up either getting spinal wedge fractures or having poor posture that is very hard to correct once the aspects of your body that lay down on hardening of protection. And so that rounded posture, we really want to work on that. It is something we have to work on because gravity has been pushing down on us from the day we were born. And then we have the weight of the world on our shoulders. And it seems like the older we get, the more weight we have. I don't mean just physically, I mean in life. So really being aware of the importance of showing up to your practice, your act of self-care to keep your body and your mind and your bones strong for the rest of your life. All right. I really believe that we're in charge of ourselves. Well, I know it because it's true. All right, let me see. Who said no about my, oh gosh, how can I get rid of this poll? Okay, there it is. All right. Yes, Wendy. Posture alignment. Well, Susan, this is perfect for you then, right? Tanya, God, girls, we're all over the country today. We've got, well, I can't remember all the places, but there's a lot of East Coasters here. You've got the West Coasters. See, we're all, and then we've got Arizona represented. Oh, great. Your back is happy. Your spine is happy, Kathy. You're welcome, Carolyn. Great. Oh, wow. Cindy, I love that. That means that you're strengthening your balance, right? Wow. Your proprioceptive nervous system has been practicing enough to feel safe for you to close your eyes and mountain. That's pretty amazing. We're going to chalk that up as wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to use that in my testimonials if that's okay. Because that's pretty powerful that you've improved your balance and that's a marker for you to know that you did, because fear of falling is so huge and weakening balance is a big thing that comes up for many as we age. So that's really huge, Cindy. Thank you. You're welcome, Lynn. Self-care, got to do it, right? You're welcome. Perfect. Yes, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Well, thank you so much. I mean, we're all here together staying strong, right? Let's see all of ourselves 10 years from now, 15 years from now. We all have the beautiful posture and our poor friends are not doing so great unless you tell them. And that's one thing, one lady I'm working with, she said, I'm noticing all my friends' posture is so horrible. I said, yeah, you're going to start. I notice it all the time. I pointed out to my kids. I'm like, look, do you see that young boy's posture, how terrible it is, or that girl or whatever.
Thank you, Stevie. So happy to have you out there. Oh, wow, Kathy, can I add that to my testimonials too? One-legged plank, amazing. That means that your hip's getting stronger, Kathy. Hips, so we've got somebody improving balance and somebody improving their hips. I mean, what else matters with osteoporosis? Those are the two biggest things. The two biggest fears is falling and fracturing your hip because it could be deadly, or balance because that's what's going to make you fall. So that was two of you that have had an improvement. Amazing. When I had my hip journey, hip replacement, hip surgery, and I was really weak, couldn't even lift my leg off the ground laying on my back, I couldn't lift my leg off the ground. Kathy, the biggest thing, that's where I noticed hip joint strength is a real big player in plank, because I could not do a one-legged plank for a while after my hip replacement. And I had to build my strength up in my hip to be able to do that. So I know firsthand from experience that that is a hip joint strength movement when you can lift one leg off the ground like that. So kudos to you with strong hips. All right. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a beautiful weekend. I hope that some of you join me in my group course where we run functional labs, a stool lab and mineral labs to look at your minerals and to look at your gut health, because that's your biochemistry of bone health. And so this is the musculoskeletal, mental, emotional, and of course it does biochemistry because we're creating stimulation there. But to really look deeper at bone health, doing functional labs can be really helpful. So thank you. I will see you when I see you. Contact me if you have any questions. You can set up a call with me if you want to talk to me about that program. And I hope to see you here, class, group class, whatever it is. Have a great weekend.